Hi everyone, your Robin here, and today I'm back with another Pokemon Nuzlocke. I decided to try my hand at another Pokemon Nuzlocke, mainly because I had some depth during Nuzlocke, which probably could have been avoided if I actually had played it better. So I decided to try and hand on a new one and hopefully play it better. I chose to do a Nuzlocke in Pokemon Heart Gold because there's a really solid Pokemon here that I can use, and I really think it's gonna be an enjoyable playthrough. So don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit the bell for notifications so you get notified of all the future videos. And let's dive in to my attempt at a Pokemon Nuzlocke in Heart Gold. I started the game as usual and eventually got to pick my starter. And of the three, I decided to go for Cyndaquil because I eliminated the other option. Chikorita got eliminated because it unfortunately is just not a useful starter. Seriously, Grass type just does not do well in Yoda games. And Totodile got eliminated because there are other water types that I wanted to use instead, so Cyndaquil was the best option. I named it Fire Neck because when it becomes a Typhlosion, his neck would be on fire. After that, after traveling along Route 29 and Route 30, I eventually got my way to Mr. Pokemon's house, where I met Professor Oak, where I was given both the Pokédex and a mysterious egg. I wonder what Ahmed would make. Anyways, then on my way back, I had my first rival battle with my rival, but this one went as another third rival battle, and I managed to win without too much difficulty. Anyways, then I got my way back to the lab, and I was immediately accused of being a thief just because I had a Pokemon. Luckily, Lyra cleared up the misunderstanding, and I now give him a rival a nickname, and I just named him Bad Guy, because he's a bad guy. I was eventually given my first Pokeball, so the run has officially started. My first encounter was on Route 29, and it became a Pidgey, which I managed to capture, and I named it Birdo. Then I also got my way to Route 30, where I caught myself a Caterpie I named Butteron. And then on Route 46, I got myself a Geodude that I named Miss Rock. Meaning that I actually already have two returning members for my first Nuzlocke. Then a while later, I got myself both a Zubat in Dark Cave I named Batman, and then a Bellsprout on Route 31 that I named Belladelle. Then after doing some grinding, Butteron evolved into a Metapod just when I was about to reach Violet City. Once I reached it, I also got my way to Sprout Tower to get my next encounter, which became a Rattata, which I just called and named the Rat. If it's a Pokemon I don't consider using, I just give it a nickname. Anyways, then I went my way to Route 32, where my next encounter became a Mareep, which I was able to capture and I named Sapper. Mareep immediately joined the team, since having a future electric type can actually be really useful. And after that, I started making my way up of Sprout Tower, and while I was doing that, Butteron evolved into a Butterfree, and then after getting past all the mobs, I could finally take on the Elder. But then, thanks to a combination of Birdo and Sapper, we defeated the Elder pretty easily. Then, after taking on the gym trainers and grinding, it was time to take on my first gym leader, Faulkner. Since he only uses two Pokemon, I can only use two as well, so I decided to use Sapper and Miss Rock, since it makes sense to use my two Pokemon with super effective stab. He leveled Pidgey and I leveled Sapper, which immediately took it out with one Thundershock. Then came Johto, and he immediately hit me with a crit tackle. However, then luck turned around and Static paralyzed it, so I was able to land two Thundershocks in a row, and I finished up until the third gym leader only using a little sheep. I met up with Elm and he gifted me a Togepi egg, which I decided to just leave in the party since I had a slot open and might as well take the time to hatch the egg. Later on, once I reached the Pokemon Center on Route 32, I got myself the old route and it was time to do some fishing. I went to the ruins of Alph since it was not really any Pokemon there that I felt like was necessary to obtain. So I did some fishing and fished myself a Magikarp I caught, and Ujira has returned for a vengeance. As you may remember, I used a Gyarados map in my Pokemon Fire Red Nuzlocke. However, it unfortunately got defeated by a Ghastly and its Destiny Bond, so it unfortunately never got to be in the final league. But I decided to bring back Gyarados and bring it glory. Anyways, until I could train it up easily, I just left it in the box, and a while later, I got Fire Egg up to level 14, so it evolved into Quilava. And while I was traveling through Union Cave, Sapper evolved into a Flashy later on, and eventually got my way to Estella Town, and apparently they have a Team Rocket problem. Apparently decided to inherit a Slowpoke well, so I decided to venture down there and get them out. Luckily they were not too much of a problem, and I was able to take them out without too much difficulty. Then, while training for the next gym, the Egg Hat and Togepi was born. I just named it Egg Gaia because, well, it's a little egg guy. Makes sense. I decided to put it back in the box and brought Rattata back just to fill the slot in my party, and eventually it was time to take on the second gym leader, Bugsy. Since I only could have 3 Pokemon, I brought Miss Rock and Fire Knight since they are the ones with super effective stab against all of Bugsy's Pokemon. Then I also brought Zapper since its electric typing is only useful against Cypher. He led with Cypher and I led with Miss Rock, and as they set up a focus energy, I immediately one-shot him with a rock throw. And right after Cypher was down, Miss Rock tried to learn self-destruct. Yes, try to learn a Cell KO move in a Nuzlocke. That is a smart idea. Anyway, the other Pokemon were just a Metapod and Kakuna, which finally immediately got rid of, giving me my second gym badge. Then after defeating the gym, it was time to my next battle against the bad guy. He led with Ghastly, and I led with Butterall, which was able to one-shot it with the confusion, but then came Croconaw, and I decided to stay in just so I could get a sleep powder. But it did little, and it woke up right away and started hitting me with scary faces, lowering my speed. After that, I decided to switch into Sapper, so I was able to hit it with 2 Thunder Shocks, taking it out. Finally, it was Zubat, and I decided to go back into Butterall since I decided to just finish it quickly with the confusion. However, it actually survived and he moved the Supersonic, but we were able to hit the second confusion, taking out Bad Guy's final Pokemon and allowing me to move on. Then, after capturing a couple of Farfetch, I was given the Cutting Gym, which isn't that important, but after a while, I've managed to find a guy that could teach my Pokemon Headbutt, which is actually gonna be necessary for something I have planned for later on. A while later, I got Birdo up to level 18, so it evolved into Pidgeotto, granting my team another evolution. A while later, I got my way to the daycare, and I decided to leave with Jira there just so it could get some levels, just so it could be ready. Then a while later, I got my way to Goldenrod City, then I headed north because I need to obtain a certain gift Pokemon, Kenya the Spearow. It's level 20, so I can't use it in battle, but I'm not planning on using it as a Pokemon, but I needed it for this Dusclops. Let me explain. I am terrified of my battle against Whitney. That Miltank is notorious for ruining days, and if I am not careful, Miltank could ruin me. But that is difficult because there's very few options for super effective move since it's a pure normal type, meaning your only option of super effective damage is fighting type moves. And fighting types are not that common in the early Yoda games. In fact, there's only 2 options, and since one is behind a trade and I am not guaranteed to get the Pokemon I am required for the trade, that means I only have one option for a super effective move against this dreaded cow, and that is none other than Heracross. However, the only way for you to obtain a Heracross in Heart Gold Soul Silver is through Headbutt trees. There are only a few places a Heracross can spawn, and right now I only have 2 places where Heracross can be found, and that is Estella Town and Route 33. I have intentionally avoided encounter on Route 33 earlier because I didn't want to ruin my chances of getting Heracross, because on these trees, there are on the trees in Estella Town and on Route 33, there are 3 possible Pokemon that can fall. Those being Spearow, Apom, and Heracross. So, by getting myself Kenya the Spirit deck entry, that allows me to guarantee an Heracross as long as I play smart. So I returned to Azalea Town, started headbutting in the trees there, and there I got Apom. So I started, not to mention it too much, then I started to use headbutt on a bunch of trees on Route 33, and it took ages. So I realized that there are actually two kinds of trees here on Route 33. Group A and Group B. However, only Group A trees has the chance of spawning a Heracross. So I had to find a Group A tree. The only way I can know it is if the Pokemon levels are between level 3 and 5. I eventually found a tree, I went headbutt there for a while, and eventually found myself a Heracross. I managed capturing it, and I named it Bighorn. And luckily for me, it was also a female, which is actually going to be really useful against this Miltank, because that means I do not have to deal with attract shenanigans. So I did both some training with Heracross, and I did some grinding in the game corner, and through that, I got myself a couple of new TMs like Flamethrower for Fireneck and Thunderbolt for Zapper. And soon I got all my Pokemon to the level cap, and it was time to prepare to take on Whitney. Since she only has 2 Pokemon, I can only bring 2, and I decided to bring both Bighorn and Butterrun. Bighorn was the obvious choice since it's my only fighting type, and I also used a Sword as TM, so now it has an incredible great boosting move, which I was planning on using, and I decided to have Butterrun here because I thought in case I was going to need it, I could give Miltank a status condition to make it easier. But now, it's time to take on the most scariest gym leader in all of Johto. He left with Clefairy and I left with Butterrun, and I immediately sleep powder it because I needed to be able to set up the boots safely with Bighorn. The only thing that Clefairy can actually do that is scary is Metronome, but who knows what I can be. I managed to get one Source Dance up, however they immediately woke up only to use Present that healed. Well, that was lucky. I decided not to risk anything, and I immediately went for a Brick Break, which was able to take out Clefairy, bringing in the terrifying Miltank. Then they outspent with a Stomp, however they didn't flinch, so we landed a Brick Break and was able to take down Miltank and the terrifying threat. After that, he immediately started to run a tantrum, but I tried to calm her down, but it didn't work, so I had to be then told to calm her down to get the badge, and then I actually got it. But seriously, this was annoying. Now with the level cap gone over 20, I was not able to give Ujira a rare candy, so it got to level 20 and evolved into the fearsome Gyarados, bringing back another old friend from my first Nuzlocke. After that, I started making my way to Aquatic City, and while I come to the Pokemon Center, I actually met Bill. He immediately ran to Walrod after our talk, and I followed him, because he had actually given me a gift Pokemon that can be really useful for the challenge. That one being an Eevee. I know what you're thinking, how can I get Eevee if I got Candy Spear earlier? Well, Candy Spear is not my goal encounter, it was actually my Route 33 encounter. So you can see it if you look at the information. Like here, see? Anyway, I named Eevee Elijah, and now it will also decide which evolution I want to evolve into. Since I cannot obtain the evolution stone until a bit later, Jolteon, Flareon, and Vaporeon was off limits. Besides, I already had the typing covered by other members of the team. Since there are no Moss or Ice Rock in Johto, I can't get Leafeon or Glaceon either. The Sylveon does not exist yet, so leaving only Umbreon and Espeon. And I go for Espeon because it was the stronger of the two. But now, it was time to do one of the most gruesome things in all of Pokemon. I needed to friendship train. Dun dun dun.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
The reason why friendship train is so annoying is because it's such a long time to increase the Pokemon friendship, and I can't just train friendship up by just leveling up. That is because Espeon and only Espeon gets confusion at level 15. If I evolve Eevee past then, Espeon won't get another attacking psychic type move until level 36, which is Psybeam. So how do I increase friendship without leveling up? Well, I just give my Eevee a gazillion haircuts. By going to Haircut Brothers, I can actually give Eevee a lot of haircuts, which slowly increases friendship. However, once I have done that, I need to would save, change the clock, and then do it again, and again and again. Anyways, eventually I had done it long enough, so Evie only needed one level to become Espion, and about training, it got confusion, and was soon caught up to the rest of the team. After that, it was time to take on the next battle against the bad guy in the burned tower. He led with Ghastly and I led with Elijah, and immediately Confusion it and knocked it out in just one hit. Next was Zubat, and Confusion one-shotted as well. Next up was Crocodile, and I decided to switch into Sapper, and I landed a Thunderbolt, which I had gotten from the game corner. Forgot to mention it earlier, but I got the TMs of Thunderbolt and Flame Fluid from the game corner after a little while of gambling. But eventually I got enough for both TMs, and just so you know, I turned into Fire Neck and Sapper just so they have more powerful moves. Just thought I could mention that. Anyways, one Thunderbolt was enough to knock him out, bringing his final Pokemon Magnemite and a swap it to Miss Rock, and just finished it off with the Magnitude, and that was just a clean sweep. Anyways, after that, I headed down to Lower, scared away the legendary dog, and then I took on the gym trainer and trained until all my Pokemon was at the level cap, and just at the level cap, Miss Rock evolved into Graveler, giving it some extra power. But then, it was finally time to prepare myself to take on Morty. I decided to go in with Elijah, Birdo, Fluffer, and Vogera. Elijah to have a super effective stab, Vogera just being powerful, Birdo because it's immune to ghost type moves, and Fluffer mainly just to fill the gap because the others didn't have much else they could fill in. He led with Ghastly and I led with Elijah, and I immediately hit it with a Confusion, knocking it out right away. Then he sent out one of his Haunters, and it took a little while for me to decide if I wanted to go because Elijah could be hit by Ghost move, which would be dangerous for us. But I decided to stay in, and it was the weaker one, which was also be able to finish off with one Confusion. Morty sent out his Gengar, and I decided to switch into Birdo because it's mostly immune to anything. Since the only move they can actually hit us with is Sucker Punch, we can mostly avoid anything they hit us with, but Gus did quite a little in return, so it took multiple turns, but we eventually managed to take out Gengar. After that, it was only left up to his final Pokemon Haunter, and I decided to just go into Vogera. As they hit with a Sucker Punch, we hit it with a Bite, which was able to take it out, giving me my 4th gym badge. After that, it continued onward, and then I ran into Mr. Baoba, okay, his nickname, anyway, telling me that the Safari Zone will soon be opening, but that does not really matter since it is kind of late game and I don't really get any Pokemon from there anyway. So, anyways, later when I reach Alpha City, I'm running to bad guy here, but apparently he did not want to battle this time. Anyways, after that, I got my way up to the lighthouse, where Jasmine made me the request for medicine, and I made my way over to Shanewood City. And during that, Zapper got to level 30 and evolved into Ampharos, giving me another fully evolved Pokemon, and one that is very powerful. It was time to take on the gym trainers, and after that, it was time to train up my team so they will all be ready for this battle. I decided to think about what Pokemon this is being, and I decided to go with Bighorn and Zapper. Maybe it does not seem like the most logical team. While I have both a Psychic type and a Flying type, I was a bit worried about Shark's Primate because it has Rock Slide, which would decimate Birdo, and Elijah does not really have the best physical bulk, so I was a bit worried about that. So I decided to go for these two because Bighorn can resist the Flying type moves, and Zapper has super effective stab against Shark's Poliwrath. He led with his Prime and I went with Bighorn, and I decided to set up a Swords Dance on the first turn as they just use Double Team. However, we have Aerial Ace, which is guaranteed to land. Then came Poliwrath, but then I hit it with Aerial Ace. They hit me with a Surf, but then another Aerial Ace took them out. So we defeated two powerful fighting type with just one bug. Anyways, after defeating him, I managed to get the flying team from his wife, and now I have the ability to soar through the sky. But then I had to do the weird thing in Pokemon Soul Silver, where the 7th kilometers level gap is actually lower than the 6th, meaning I had to challenge Price first, and then go to Jasmine. When I was on Route 42, the encounter method here was kind of different because I actually ran into the roaming Raikou. And since technically it's the first Pokemon encounter that I haven't caught yet, it will technically be my encounter for that, but I did not have any way to capturing it, so I just threw an Ultra Ball at it, but that did not do anything. The chance of me catching a roaming legendary was was relatively low, so I decided to not pay too much attention to it. Anyway, a bit later I reached Mahogany Town. Then I started making my way north from there to get to the Lake of Rage. And while I was there, I went on to get myself the Choice Spec because it can be a really useful item later on. Then I went on my way to challenge the Red Gyarados, but since I already have one, I cannot really use this. I decided not to pass off a shiny, so I decided to get cashing it, and I just named a trophy. Nothing special, it's just a trophy. Anyways, then I met up with Lance, and apparently he needed my help to take care of some Team Rocket business. We entered this small house, which had a very odd tree next to it, and Lance immediately just went on the hyper beam, taking out the guy that was in there. Yikes! Then the two of us started to making our way through the Team Rocket hideout. But then after dealing with an impersonating Murkrow, then taking out the free Electrode, we managed to get ourselves to the next battle. It was then time to take on the next gym leader, Price. Once again, I can only use 3 Pokemon, so I decided to go in with Fireneck, Woodjera, and Sapper. Woodjera and Fireneck are both super effective against Price's Palswine, and Sapper is super effective against the other two. I also decided to give Sapper the choice effect prior to the battle, just to increase the power of his special moves. He led with his seal, so I went in with Sapper, and immediately I went for Thunderbolt, and it immediately one-shot it. Next was Palswine, and I decided to switch into Woodjera just so we didn't risk getting hit by ground. We were all fine. Woodjera went for Surf, which managed to get a blow half after he hit with a Citrus Berry and set up the hail. We got a bit damage from hail, but then a second Surf managed to take out the Palswine, leaving only their Dewgong. I saw back into Sapper, and after getting hit by an Aura Beam, I hit them with a Thunderbolt, which managed to take them out, getting me an easy win. And at this point, I decided to actually do something unique. I'm going to challenge the next gym leader right away. Since the level cap is only 1 level higher, I didn't just see a reason to train my team up to just 1 more level, while I might as well just take it out right now. Besides, I was not really worried about Jasmine's team because I didn't see Pokemon that could do massive damage, so I felt like we had a pretty solid chance. I went in with the same team, except I swapped out Sapper for Miss Rock. After going through that weird thing that the gym trainer go up to you but does not challenge you to a battle here, seriously, why did they do that? It was then time to take on Jasmine without any level increase. She led with one of her Magnemites, and I went with Miss Rock, and I managed to hit it with an Earthquake, knocking it out in just one swoop. Next up was Steelix, and I swapped into Woodjera, so it was a battle between a Steel Snake and a Water Snake. And for me, the Water Snake came out on top with one powerful Surf. Finally was her second Magnemite, and I decided to go back into Miss Rock and go off with another Earthquake, taking it out, giving me an easy win. And 2 more gym badges with relative ease. Then I was informed about Team Rocket trying to take over the Radio Tower in Goldenrod, so I went there to take care of them, and took on my rifle again, but I forgot to record a battle, but nothing much thing happened. I one-shot all of its Pokemon quite easily. And while I was doing that, Fireneck got to level 36 and evolved into Typhlosion, finally giving me my fully evolved starter. As we all continued onward, I challenged Ariana to 1 more battle. However, this one went easy, with Miss Rock finishing off her Arbok, Bighorn finishing off her Vileplume, and Woodjera finishing off the little Murkrow, leaving me only with the 1 more Team Rocket admin to defeat. It's time for Archer. He led with Houndour, and I went for Woodjera, which immediately knocked it away with the Surf. Then took a quick feint attack from its Houndoom, which managed to survive a Surf. Then hit them with a bite below lava, as we hit them with a Surf, which knocked them out. Then leading into only using his coughing left, as Elijah finished it off with a Side Beam, and Team Rocket was officially no more. After that, I continued to traverse east from Mahogany Town, and during that, Birdo got to level 36 and evolved into Pidgeot. Then a quick traverse through the Ice Cave, I managed to reach Blackthorn City, and then I immediately started to train myself up for the upcoming gym battle against Claire, and during that, Miss Rock evolved into a fearsome golem, getting my entire team to their fully evolved state. Hi, this is recorded pretty much right after this, but I accidentally forgot to record my gym battle against Claire. I really feel embarrassed by this, and I really hope you can forgive me, but I'm gonna do my best to explain exactly what happened. She led with her Gyarados, and I led with Zapper the Ampharos, and even though they hit us with a Dragon Rage first, our Choice Pick with its Thunderbolt was able to take out the Gyarados, and we were doing quite well. However, due to a misclick, I didn't switch out when her Dragonair came in, but I was able to switch out on the second turn, and I swapped into Wujira the Gyarados. However, this battle was quite annoying with that Dragonair continuously moving with Thunder Wave and Icing barely not being enough to KO. After going back and forth for a while, we were eventually able to take it out, and then when our second Dragonair came in, I used Dragon Rage on the first turn to at least get in a range on Icing guaranteed would kill. She only went for Dragon Pulse and not Thunder Wave this time, so we were able to finish off with an Ice Fan. Finally was Kingdra, and I swapped into Sapper. I knew a Choice Pick with the Thunderbolt would be a 2 KO, the only thing that mattered was if we were able to survive. She burst from the Hydro Pump, however it missed, so we were able to get one Thunderbolt off. The second one didn't miss though, and it left Sapper at only 25 HP, but one more Thunderbolt was able to take it out, giving me my final gym badge. Once again, I'm sorry about this. This never happened once again in this video, I promise. But now, back to Bastmy. After the battle, I went up down to the Dragon Den in order to get my gym back from Claire, and I answered a bunch of questions, but there was not too much of a problem. After that, Professor Ellen called me and asked me to take out the woman in an equity. This one was a bit worrying at first, each of them having their own evolution, but the thing that's difficult here is that I can't heal in between and they're going to just go all out right away. So I was a tad worried about this one. However, I managed to get through all battle without any major casualties, mainly thanks to Zapper being super powerful and having good coverage. After that, we began the gruesome journey off the top of the bell tower. Komonogo began the ceremony to summon the legendary firebird Ho-Oh. And then I was presented with the great honor of catching this legendary bird. And I rode straight over there. There you go, you overgrown turkey! Anyways, after that, I started making my way east of New Barktown and started making my way to Victory Road. The majority of the journey didn't become too much of a problem, and once I got to the Victory Road, there were no trainers in there, except for the final battle against Bad Guy in the end. He went for Sneasel first, and Fireneg immediately defeated it with a lava plume. He then swapped into Feraligatr as Iceland and Sapper. As they hit up with a waterfall, we paddled to withstand it, and immediately sent them packing with Thunderbolt. Next up was Haunter, and I followed that up with Wujira, knocking it out with a crit bite. Then came Magneton, and I went into Miss Rock and immediately struck it down with the 4-time super effective Earthquake. Next up was Kadabra, and I swapped with the Birdo and immediately went for a Fly as they set up Reflect, causing Fly to not kill as they disabled Fly. But then we get hit with a Plug, taking it out. Finally was Golbat, and to allow every member of my team to get a KO, I swapped into Elijah, which finished it off with a Side Beam. And now, with me having defeated my rival, it was time to do the final preparation for the Elite Four. Considering that now I have been swapping around between 7 Pokemon, I need to determine the best Pokemon I could bring into the league. And of the 7, I decided to put Birdo on the bench. And all the Pokemon that is weak to flying is covered by another member of the team that I think have a better shot. So Birdo will be boxed for this one. However, there was something that was even greater at stake. I have gotten through the entire game. In every battle, every gym leader, and the rival battle, minor boss fights, and every Team Rocket battle ever. Even roaming legendary, and I haven't lost a single mob. Not a single loss have happened. It's incredible. So if I play my cards right, I can go through this entire game without losing a single Pokemon. So I immediately went on planning, and now I think I have the strategy that will allow me to complete my very first Deathless Pokemon Nuzlocke. So I entered Elite Four, and first up was the psychic specialist Will. He led with one of his Satu, and I led with Elijah, and I used a choice specs boosted Shadow Bolt to take it out right away. Next was the second one, which also suffered the same fate with a boosted Shadow Bolt. Next was Executor, and one more Shadow Bolt sealed the deal. Next up, King Jinx, and one more Shadow Bolt knocked it out, leaving only one Pokemon left, Slowbro, which was the only one that was not getting killed by Shosek with the Shadow Bolt. So I swapped with the Zapper and used the magnet boosted Thunderbolt, taking it out. Next up Koga, but he got some recording problems here. But his first area was defeated by Choice Pick with the side beam from Elijah. Yeah, and his order was defeated by Fireneck by his own fire move I unfortunately forgot. Next was his mug, and Miss Rock was able to take it out with Earthquake. Next was his Venomoth, and I went in with the light, and the Choice Pick with the side beam took it out. Then Sapper went for a Thunderbolt, knocking out his Crobat in one strike. Next up was Bruno, which was another easy one with Choice booted Side Beam from Elijah, knocking out his on top. Then Wajira, a Waterfall, his Onyx. Then Elijah one-shotting his remaining 3 Pokemon with Choice Specs booted Side Beam. The final Elite Four battle was against Karen. And when with a Monster Band boosted close combat, we managed to take out their Umbreon in one strike. Next up was Murkrow, and I swapped into Zapper here, and immediately finished it off with a quick Thunderbolt. Then came in our Houndoom, and I swapped into Miss Rock. As they is before, not about we hit him with an Earthquake, knocking out Houndoom in just one blow. Next up was our Wild Bloom, and I swapped into Fireneck here, which immediately defeated it with a Flamethrower, leaving only her Gengar. And I decided to switch into Jarius, and then for some reason I went for Focus Blast, which is just weird, both because they hit and that is not. As we started hitting a couple of dragons and then they hit a second Focus Blast. What is going on? Then I struck them with a Waterfall, which was able to take Gengar out, giving me an easy defeat of the Elite Four members. But now it all brings down to the final battle of the league. I decided that my best way of doing this would be going with the classical Dragon Dance sweep. It was then time to take on the final challenge of this Nuzlocke lands. If I defeat him here, I have finally defeated a Pokemon Hardcore Nuzlocke without any losses. He led with his own Gyarados, and I went with my own. And I of course went with my own and immediately went for Dragon Dance, setting up. They hit me with the Dragon Bolts, which barely did anything. We got one more Dragon heads off as they hit me with the second one. We pretty much continued the same moves of Dragon Dance and Dragon Bolts a couple of times, but then when we got to Red, I decided to heal up just to make sure. After I got in myself all the way to max attack and max speed, it was time to begin the sweep. His Gyarados was defeated with a few Ice Fang, but then it was all consecutive Ocos. Being Aerodactyl defeated by Waterfall, his Dragonite defeated by Ice Fang, and his Charizard defeated with a Waterfall. And now I have done it. I have defeated a Pokemon Hardcore Nuzlocke without losing a single Pokemon. Before we wrap up, I would like to share a few things that I took after of this journey. 1. Gyarados is super powerful and can always be helpful. 2. Ampharos is an incredible Pokemon having a Johto playthrough no matter what kind of challenge you do. If you have Ampharos, you have a good chance doing it. Third, having an early bug type in Nuzlocke are very helpful because, well, I have done this twice now and they have been very useful. But that will be all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye!